Hello everybody and welcome to IA Command. I hope everyone had a good holiday season. I wanted to talk a little bit about the current competitive metagame in Imperial Assault Skirmish as we head into the current regional season. I realize this video is coming out a little bit late as we're right now about almost halfway through the current regionals event schedule. But with the holiday schedule and me dealing with the flu right after Christmas, I just haven't had an opportunity to sit down and record this until now. But there are still a lot of regionals left to go, including mine here in the Pacific Northwest. Look, we've got all these going on in January and going through February, as well as in Canada and internationally. So I figured better late than never, and hopefully this will be helpful to some of you watching this. And if not in time for your regionals event, then maybe at least for your next skirmish tournament or session. So let's get into what are the current biggest lists in Imperial Assault Skirmish right now that you will probably end up seeing at your next regionals event. So the biggest one in the room right now is definitely Specter Cell. Specter Cell kind of landed with a bang when Tyrants of Lothal came out, and it has just proved itself to be a powerhouse through the tournament season leading up into regionals. The strength of their upgrade card here, the Specter Cell upgrade, giving all of them a huge stat boost, as well as allowing two Specters to attack in the same round, regardless, without any range restriction on the two Specters, is just so powerful. They have such good tempo swings. No other list can really have the kind of gigantic attacks in one activation that they can pull off, except for maybe Rangers or Vader with Parting Blow, but they can do it every single turn and they have huge damage without relying on their command cards the way that a lot of other decks do. The deck is very close range focus. Kanan, Ezra, both are melee figures. Zeb has a melee attack, and Sabine benefits from being close to use Parting Gift, and Chopper is also happens to be a melee figure when he needs to attack. So the list is very focused on getting in your face and hitting you hard from close range. Right now there are two main variants. The list is kind of had some small evolutions since it's come out. The extra armor version is mostly out. It's fallen out of favor mostly just because there's so much pierce in the game right now in the meta that those block tokens, if you don't have Zillow to kind of make them count, they just kind of get wasted by like a pierce 3 attack. So extra armor is out right now. The most popular variation on the list is actually Motivation, which is usually put on Zeb, although you can also put it on Kanan. But usually they put it on Zeb, and it allows Zeb to basically move one of the other figures that's not Kanan one space and remove a harmful condition or recover a damage, which happens to synergize really well with their Specter Cell upgrade. Basically, when you're using Zeb, you can get basically 3 movement on your figure before you use that extra attack from Specter Cell, and also just for removing like random stuns that will sometimes cripple Ezra is really good. So right now Motivation is kind of the generalist upgrade version. It's kind of the all-comers version. It's considered the best against the mirror match against other Specter Cell mirrors, and also it's considered to be better against like Imperial lists that don't have a lot of focus, because the other version of the list that is most popular is definitely the Doubt version. And Doubt is good because it's good against what a lot of people consider to be Specter Cell's biggest weakness, which is basically big, hard-hitting, long-range attacks before they can close the gap and do their close-range stuff. So Doubt will help to lessen the impact of those big focused attacks, long-range attacks. Also reduces their range. As long as you can stay out of sight on round 1 and don't let them shoot you, you'll strip some of their focus for round 2. And it also gives access to the really nice combo of Tough Luck, which, here it is. Because Doubt lets you force a reroll by discarding the card, you can basically cancel any of their dice with Tough Luck reliably on defense when they're attacking, and this makes it really easy to actually just make a lot of the ranged attacks miss just by taking away whatever accuracy they needed to hit you, and that's really strong for Specters to be able to just blank out a big ranged attack while they're trying to get in and close the gap. So Doubt right now, Doubt's considered kind of the anti-meta pick if you are playing Specter and you're confident in your mirror match and you just want to be able to beat the long range sniper lists that kind of hurt Specters as kind of their foil, then you would bring Doubt. If you just want the all-comers version, you would do Motivation. If you're playing against Specters, if they're playing Doubt, just be aware of the combo, the Tough Luck combo. And really, if you're playing anyone that has Doubt, be aware of this, and be aware of this card in general. If you are thinking about doing a reroll, because this can just totally negate your entire attack if you play into its hands. So you have to be aware of it. Command cards to be aware of for Specter Cell when you're playing against it. Pretty much every Specter Cell list is going to have On the Lam for Ezra and Hera, who are both smugglers. So be aware of that. Don't go in too hard on those characters if an On the Lam will completely screw you over. The other thing you need to be aware of is, where is it? Oh, it's not in this one. Dying Lunge. Most Specter Cells are going to play this card as well. So if you're killing Kanan or Ezra, maybe try and put some space between you first, at least 3 spaces, or actually I guess you would want to have 3 spaces between you. So try and be 4 spaces away from them when you kill them if they haven't played this card, because you might think you're winning and then all of a sudden you're actually losing. And be aware that also Chopper can use this card, and he can do pretty decent damage with it sometimes if he needs to, so careful for that. Strength in Numbers is the other card you need to know. It basically allows them to chain Hera with either Sabine, Kanan, or Zeb, and it lets them do like Hera, activate, use Specter Cell, attack with Kanan, then Strength in Numbers, activate Kanan, attack with Kanan. So they attacked 3 times by using that card. Big tempo swing, and you need to be aware of it, that you could lose a figure or multiple figures in one fell swoop if they play this card. And the last thing you need to really be aware of is Pummel. Most decks are going to be playing 2. Some people like just 1, but you're going to see this card if you're playing against Specter Cell, and usually it's going to be Ezra using it. He's going to run up with his Brash so that he's right next to somebody, and then use Pummel. So if you can, if you get to activate before they do, and you have a figure that's like adjacent to one of their melee figures, maybe you move them away as your first activation so they can't pummel you easily. And also be aware that they have a lot of movement cards like Fleet-footed, Force Rush gives you 2 movement, Force Push they can use to push you towards them for a pummel. So they have a lot of movement tricks. Their only weakness really for Specters is command card draw. They draw very little cards because they don't really have any ways to draw except for Heroic Effort, which a lot of Specter Cell players actually tend to forget to use. So those are the things you need to know going into a matchup against Specter Cell. And you also need to know that you cannot split your damage on them. They are so tough because of this +1 block. Once you start shooting at one, focus it down and kill it. You have to bring them down 1 figure at a time. If you just spread your damage out around them, they're going to get away, and you're not going to be able to close it out and get the points you need. Alright, so the next list I want to talk about is Han Rangers. So this has been a powerhouse list for a while now, and it continues to be so. In my opinion, it's the strongest list right now in the meta maybe right behind Specter Cell or right around the same level. They are long range. It's a long range powerhouse list using Han and the Alliance Rangers as the main attackers. They have very strong long range attacks thanks to being able to focus these guys up with C-3PO and Gideon. And then they usually have Hera in there to add to their range, and of course you see they get all this range bonus. They've got automatic pierce. Han has amazing surge abilities that he can use, and they will shred you if you put a figure out in front of them at any range, really. Range 11 to up to 11. I've seen range 13 shots be done, and their attacks don't look that powerful even when they're focused, but the thing you need to be aware of is that their command cards are where their strength lies. You need to be aware of cards like Assassinate, Heightened Reflexes, Tools for the Job, Primary Target. They only need a couple of these cards to do incredible damage to a single figure. I have seen a full health Vader go down to a single Ranger activation with just 2 cards played. That's just how powerful they are. And the weakness of the list is that they struggle at close range. If you can get in close, they lose their guerrilla ability. They lose a lot of what makes them strong. They do have enough health. They can usually tank 1 attack, but they go down pretty quick once you get in close against them. But that's the challenge, is getting in close without them sniping you on the way. You can't be passive against them. If you try to sit back and kind of hide close to your deployment zone, and they will just quickly amass a humongous hand of cards. The current popular build for Han Rangers is to have Rebel High Command and R2-D2. So usually they will have, let's see, that's 3 extra cards, plus the terminal. So they'll usually have 7 cards at the start of round 2, 8 if they have planning anywhere in there. They're gonna have a humongous hand. So another weakness for them then would be also spies, specifically the card, what is it called? Strategic Shift. If you can strategic shift a Han Ranger player and take them from 7 cards down to 2, that is pretty good. But you need to be perfect on your timing there. The last thing you should know about is, again, on the Lamb. This is going to be an omnipresent card in your games, just because you really don't want to shoot at Han Solo if you can help it. If they put Han Solo right in your face and kind of rush him out there to your side of the board, you kind of have to shoot at him, although you want to mitigate the return fire as much as you can. But if he's kind of sitting back, like if he's hanging out by C-3PO, you really shouldn't be shooting at him. You need to be aware of distracting. If he's sitting by 3PO, he gets that extra surge cancel, the evade. That turns into an extra block on top of that with cunning. So be aware that with C-3PO, Han Solo can be incredibly tanky, and you're just giving him bonus attacks by shooting at him. And you need to also be aware the new tech for this list is set for stun. This is something that the Alliance Rangers, the Smugglers will be throwing at you from time to time. Because they're so cheap, they can afford to waste an attack on this. And because of the way the card has been ruled is that you don't need accuracy or damage with this. You just have to have line of sight to the target, and they instantly become stunned. So this is really strong. If you're playing Specter Cell, like, you need to be aware of this card. If you're playing Vader, if you're playing even IG, this will take away one of his attacks. This is a really strong card that the Smugglers will oftentimes be throwing at you. So be aware of that. But yeah, right now Han Rangers has a really good matchup against, I wouldn't say really good, they have one of the better matchups against Specter Cell. Just because they have everything that Specter Cell hates, which is big spike damage, lots of pierce, and reliable long range attacks. So that's Han Rangers. And next let's talk about IG-88. So IG-88, I'm really more talking about IG as a figure. You'll see lots of different lists with IG as the centerpiece, but basically when you have IG in a list, he is the centerpiece. He's kind of the list, and he's such a strong figure. I'm gonna go ahead and bring it. Yeah, actually, so here, that's his actual card, but this is what his modification looks like. IG usually tends to run with familiar faces, though. Usually you have Onar. Usually you have Onar in there. Excuse me. You usually tend to see Greedo. You tend to see the guys who focus, Gideon 3PO, the Rebel Care Package. A lot of times you'll see R2-D2 just so he can draw the command cards that he needs. Usually you'll see Jawa. Sometimes you'll see Hera. Sometimes you'll see Hondo is a popular choice now for scum lists. But yeah, just IG is a monster. He still is a monster. He always has been since that Focused on the Kill card came out. And this list is actually the list that Daniel Taylor and Brett Kelly took to Worlds. That I think Daniel Taylor got first place with. And I think, except that I think this has extra armor instead of Devious Scheme, which they had. You're not going to see a whole lot of Devious Scheme, I don't think, in the current meta with the Swamps map being gone and out of rotation. There's a lot less incentive to spend a point just to guarantee a specific deployment zone. But yeah, so let's talk about IG. The list is usually very similar to the Han Rangers list and what it can do, just with the suite of tools that it tends to use. They're much more flexible in their range. They can't do the extreme long range shots that the Han Rangers list can pull off, but they are very strong at close range, and they can usually pull off some long range shenanigans too. Thanks to IG-88's Arsenal ability, he can roll blue-blue-green if he really wants to, with the +2 accuracy built in. He can actually take some long-range shots, even though they're not going to be that powerful. But he really excels at close range, where he gets that relentless bonus, and he can roll red-red-green twice against somebody. And the same goes for Onar and Greedo. Greedo's actually pretty good at long range because of that +1 accuracy and is usually focused. Onar likes to be at close range usually, but sometimes he can shoot at long range if he's focused. And Hera helps out if they're running Hera. So, what was this thing? But yeah, IG's brutal. He's kind of like Han that you don't have to shoot at to get him to kill you. Like, if you shoot at Han, he'll kill you, but if you leave him alone, at least he's only shooting at you twice around. I mean, I guess IG's doing that too, so. But yeah, you really want to shoot him because he loses Smuggler, so he can't on the Lamb, thank goodness, but he gets all the Hunter cards, like Assassinate, Tools, all of that stuff. So he is usually going to destroy anything that he gets close to. Some things to be aware of is, again, all the Hunter cards on the Lamb. Greedo is a smuggler, Hera's a smuggler, Jawa's a smuggler. Hondo is also a smuggler if they have Hondo. This shouldn't be in here. This is wrong. Opportunistic is one to be aware of. If they damage you, they can often get a bunch of movement points for free. And yeah, I think even though I think Han Rangers is the stronger of these two archetypes, I think IG is just going to be extremely popular in any metagame. He's a very popular figure. He's very powerful. He's not that hard to play. Oh, and of course I forgot. It should be in here, but I messed that up. His signature card, of course, is Blaze of Glory. So you need to be aware of that with IG, is that just because he is activated does not mean he is done activating for the round. You have to be very careful to not get caught by this card and have IG just kind of pop out and blow you away with this. So yeah, I think IG is going to be a very popular figure in this metagame. I think he's going to be more popular than Han Rangers just because, again, he's a little more flexible. He's a little more forgiving than Han Rangers with positioning. and he's just very popular. Okay, so let me fix so I've gone ahead and fixed the deck. So this is actually more what the deck would look like. I had the wrong command deck loaded up here. Again, you're going to see, you know, Blaze for Glory. You're going to see all the Hunter cards. And this deck is also going to be using Set for Stun for a lot of people, because you have Gideon and Jawa can use it pretty well. And yeah, and all of these lists, by the way, are just kind of example lists that I put together. These aren't like net lists. I mean, you can net list them if you want, but these are kind of just like the archetypal example for each archetype. You'll probably see variation with people's lists. People like to kind of put their own flair. So this is just kind of what in my opinion, is kind of the best build for each list is. Wasn't actually sure what to do with that last point. I don't think it's extra armor, but you know, this is just kind of a basic IG-88 list. Okay, so let's talk about the next list, which is also a Scum list, and that is Scum Victory Point Hunters. So this is a list that actually has a theme, and again, you'll see different variants, but this is kind of the archetypal version of the list that I've been able to come up with. This list uses cards that give command points to kind of do a turbo command point game, where they are still killing you, but they are also gaining victory points much faster than you, to the point that they win the game on victory points, even though they are maybe not winning on material. Or that is, they'll win on victory points before you can make a comeback and turn it around. So there's a lot of cards in the deck that are doing this. Jabba the Hutt is one of them. He gives you the Nefarious Gains. He's also just welcome in this deck as another source of focus and card draw, since usually this deck is not running IG, although sometimes it is. Again, it's kind of, there's different variants. But what you will usually see in this deck is going to be Sabine. She doesn't have the Specter Cell buff in this list, but what she brings to the list is very important, which is her command card, which is Rebel Graffiti, which basically just gives them a free 2 victory points every round, and then another bonus after Sabine dies, since any Rebel figure can use it, such as Gideon or 3PO if they're still alive. Hondo is another great addition to this list. Again, he puts pressure on the opponent with his victory point ability of Negotiate, and What's Yours is Mine, to kind of accelerate victory points even more. Usually Negotiate, they're not going to pay the victory points, but the fact that there's so much pressure on the opponent's victory points means that he's always going to get that +2, which is really nice. Greedo is usually there for value. Jawa gives you access to the care package. And then usually you also will see Black Market. This is another marquee card for this list. And again, it just gives more options to kind of accelerate victory points, as well as giving them access to more card draw, because they rely on their command cards to help accelerate them. They have the regular Hunter Suite and Smuggler Suite that's so powerful, that allows them to spike a lot of damage, and then they use a lot of these command cards to help get them more victory points. You got Price on Their Heads, Black Market Prices gives you victory points for card draw, Celebration gives you more victory points, just a ton of these types of cards, and they all really add up very quickly. You know, if they kill Vader and they've used Price on Their Heads and Celebration, and they've got Jabba, you know, that's 22 points they get from killing Vader. And so this list has been very successful because I think because just it's really good against Specter Cell. The problem with Specter Cell is it's just so hard to kill the figures and score enough points to beat them. But with this list, like, they kill maybe 2 Specters, but they get the points equivalent of killing 4 of them, and it really allows them to race ahead, especially in timed games. I think this list is really strong. So this is something to look out for. You need to be aware that every kill you give up to them is going to give more and more victory points. and it's going to be a race basically. So be very cognizant of your victory point total compared to your opponent's victory point total, and making sure you keep a healthy lead on victory points against this list. Okay, so the last real list that I want to talk about is an Imperial list. It's really the only Imperial list that's been doing well in this current metagame, and that is the Vader Palp Thrawn list. So this list, also known as Who's the Boss, starts with Vader with Driven by Hatred, his upgrade. And this is going to be the upgrade that lets him attack and move 2 spaces, and either attack and force choke at the end of the round. Also gives him +1 damage, so it makes his attacks really hard hitting. You also have Palpatine, who's just great at regular. He's a really great support figure. And then Thrawn is the new figure that really gave the list its punch it needed. Just good stats all around. He attacks well as a ranged figure. He's one of the best ranged attackers that the Empire has access to. His long laid plans, well, a support ability will also usually be used to give him a surge token, so he can get that massive +3 damage surge ability. And he already has +2 accuracy built in, so he's pretty good. Maybe not sniper, but mid-range attacker. And he is really good at controlling command cards, and against the lists like IG and Han Rangers, that is very strong. Just kind of being able to control their flow of command cards with his strategize ability, as well as his 4C command card. That not only lets him control their access to command cards, it also tells him what command cards they have coming to them. So Thrawn has been a really great figure. You'll usually see this list with a Death Trooper and some officers to kind of keep the activation count up. Riot Troopers are also seeing some play, and usually you'll see a ton of upgrades. Usually you'll see Unshakable, and which we'll talk about in a second, Zillow Technique, Rule by Fear, to fuel the Zillow. And then you'll either see extra armor or cross training in this list. Cross training I think has become popular just on the Death Trooper because, well, for one thing, the Death Troopers don't really hit that hard, even with their own power tokens. I think now Death Troopers are kind of just being used to give Thrawn his surge token that he needs so that he can give other tokens to other characters. And then if you make this a spy, you open up access to some spy command cards that are really good, that can disrupt the IG-88 and Han Rangers players and kind of give you an edge there. So let's talk about the command deck that we're usually going to see with this. The big thing here is Parting Blow. That's still a big part of Vader's game plan. It's you combo this with either Dark Energy or Looking for a Fight. So Darth Vader moves up, hits you, and then pushes you away with Looking for the Fight or Dark Energy, and then plays Parting Blow to attack you again. And then he becomes stunned, but on the next activation, they'll just remove the stun with Unshakable so he can still do his Driven by Hatred movement and attack. This is the thing that has made Vader so powerful. It continues to be powerful. It means that Vader players will have to be conservative. They really want to wait till they have that combo locked and loaded. If you rush Vader in and you don't have the Parting Blow combo, it's kind of like going in half cocked, and it's just not a great idea. Usually Darth Vader will do like a force choke from long range while they wait for that to come to them, and that's another reason they run Rule by Fear. New cards you need to be worried about, again, Dying Lunge. Darth Vader and Palpatine are both able to use this, so again, when you kill them, unless you're like a melee figure or something, or you have to be really close, just be aware that this could come out and Vader could kind of ruin your day, even as he's going out the door. Another important card is Second Chance. This card has really shined in lists that have big queen pieces like Vader. I also wouldn't be surprised to see this in like an IG list, just because you put it on that big figure with where all those command points are, and it really pressures the opponent kind of makes them go all in and have to commit more than they want to kill it. Price of Glory could also be something that sees play. Lets them remove the stun from Vader without having to use Unshakable. Lets them remove stun from things like Set for Stun, which are going to be popular. Again, without having to use Unshakable or if they have already exhausted it. And just gives more movement points and also gives power tokens. Face to Face is still popular as a kind of a sneaky movement card. Just kind of like Urgency, but a little bit better. Again, they're going to have a lot of spy cards if they're running cross training. So if you're counting on having that big important command card in your hand and they've got cross training, you know, maybe mitigate that a little bit, because you might not have that card before you play it. Yeah, so that's kind of what this list looks like. Still strong. Still, I think it has a hard time against Specter Cell. I think it has a hard time against Han Rangers, and I think it's good against Hunters and Scum. Maybe not that good against Victory Points, but you need to know how Vader works still, so that you're not annihilated by him. So the last thing I want to talk about is just quickly, I kind of want to go over what the range 2, kind of the tier 2 figures look like. These aren't necessarily a list, of course. They are just kind of a list of figures that, you know, you're likely to see at your regionals tournament, but they're currently not meta defining. They're just, you know, decent. They're pretty good. They're okay. Rancor is always popular for tier 2 lists. Usually they have Beast Tamer, so he gets a free movement. Problem is, Rancor just kind of dies too quickly in this metagame. He's got the same health as Onar, but he's cost twice as much, and all the Pierce in the game is just going to cut through him. But there's fun stuff you can do with the Rancor before he dies. Chewie is also pretty decent, usually, of course, with his Wookiee Avenger card, upgrade card. He is not too bad. The problem is he kind of wrecks your hand because he makes you draw the Debts Repaid card and takes another card out of your hand. So, and he's also just very expensive. Usually you have to bring like Balance of the Force to make up for the fact that you're forced to include Debts Repaid in your deck. So he's actually a 12-point figure. It's just, he's always been kind of clunky trying to get that to work with his command card. Let me look it up here for we can look at that. Just because he's a close range fighter, so he likes to get up and in the mix, but he doesn't want to die early because then he doesn't get to use Debts Repaid. So he's awkward, but he's still popular. You see him run alongside Han a lot of the time. ATDP, this figure got some play back when Heart of the Empire first came out. It's a little bit problematic, similar problem to the Rancor. And not that it's not durable enough. It does have more HP and more defense than the Rancor, but it has a problem of just being a massive figure in a game filled with long-range hunters and, you know, little specters running up and destroying you with close-range attacks. So I think you'll see this. Somebody's going to run this at regionals. Maybe not, although maybe not, because massive figures are not that common. But it's just something to be ready for. Just know that, you know, it's got the blast. Oh, wait, you know, it doesn't have blast. Well, never mind. Yeah, maybe this isn't something to worry about. But Dracata will be played. I know Kenny actually just won his regionals yesterday with the box, which I believe includes Dracata. She's got great attack power, she's got great damage control and area of effect damage. She just goes down a little too easily right now if you don't have really good protection for her. So, and she needs a lot of support, she needs a lot of range, she needs focus, but she's still a good figure, and you still need to be aware that she can mess you up if you are not careful. Just, you know, hit her hard and she goes down pretty quick now, especially if you got lots of Pierce. Ahsoka is pretty popular. still pretty popular. She's just kind of a popular figure and a popular character. She will come at you fast. She's really good at dive bombing. Just her damage isn't that great, but she's really good at getting consistent damage against white die and black die figures. Just be ready for her card. What's it called? Right back at you. Do not fall into this trap. If you're attacking her and she has a block token and your figure has 3 or less health, your attack might do nothing because she'll just kill you. So just be aware that this card exists when you're playing against Ahsoka. Captain Taro was a popular figure in the last meta, so people will probably still be bringing him. Don't clump up against him. Kill him as soon as you can before he can get in close. He likes to get in close and do close range stuff, but he dies pretty fast. Again, 13 health, not that great. I mean, it's great for his points, but he just dies too fast. And he's a big figure, so he has a harder time hiding and staying out of sight. So all he can do is rush in, and yeah. So you might see some Captain Taros. Riot Troopers might get seen. Riot Troopers are still good. They're a little bit expensive for what they do, and they're melee too. I think just the Death Trooper has been more popular. I think just big heroes are more popular just to deal with Specter, because these smaller figures, they have a hard time getting through that defense, that passive defense buff. But you'll still see riots, and if they get close to you, they will hit you hard, and the strain and the weaken is pretty annoying. So you need to be careful of these guys. They're also just hard to kill for their points cost, so they're still pretty decent. CT, you might see some play. I think he was doing pretty good in the early regionals in the season, with Sabine and Rangers and stuff like that. He's currently not like top tier, but he is pretty good. I don't really have much to say about CT. And then last thing is MHD. Also niche pick, mostly because he fits into the box list that Kenny loves, from Zion's Finest. And again, I believe he just got first place at the Utah Regional with the box, and I know MHD is a critical part of that list. Basically, he takes Han and Drokata and a few other figures, puts them all in one spot that he castles up in, with C-3PO and MHD protecting everybody, and it's like a fortress. I don't think this list is gonna be popular. It's gonna become popular. I think it's a playstyle that not a lot of people excel at or have the patience for. But now that Kenny's won regionals with it, and I think he got top 16, top 8 at Worlds with it. I think this list might some people might pick up this list, and you need to be aware of this list, because you need to be aware of this card, which is Miracle Worker, that MHD can play. And basically, if you are killing something that's next to MHD, and if he's within 3 spaces of it, he can bring it back to life instantly. And it really can throw people off, and can throw off your timing if you're not ready for it, if you're not expecting it. MHD can play it on himself, so don't think that just because you're targeting MHD that he is not going to be able to save himself. MHD can also heal himself. His medical loadout lets him heal himself for an adjacent figure for 3 damage. So just kind of a frustrating list to play against, and it's more frustrating if you don't know about these cards, so that's why I'm bringing them up, so you guys should know these are out there. Okay guys, so that was kind of my summary of what the regional metagame looks like right now for Imperial Assault. I hope this was useful. I hope you guys are able to use this and kind of know and expect and be prepared for what's going to be out there when you go to your regionals tournament, or when you go to your local store kit tournament, or your next skirmish meetup. Now you know what the best lists in the game are, and you'll be ready for them, or you can even try them out for yourselves. Alright guys, thanks for watching. If you like the content, please subscribe, send me a like, everything helps. Oh yeah, and by the way, I just want to say thank you to Tabletop Admiral. That is the website that I was using to make this video. It's a really amazing website for list building for Imperial Assault. You can set up your collection, you can save lists, you can share lists as URLs. It's an amazing tool. And if you're not using it to build your list, you really should be. So check that out at tabletopadmiral.com. Thank you guys for watching. Have a good night.